The Scarlet Witch could be returning to the MCU. According to this recent report, she is going to be returning, but not in the way that you might expect her to return. But this way that fans might not expect could actually be a lot better for the character and the overall story in Avengers Doomsday. In fact, a lot of people have already been praising this report, hoping it comes true. An article from The Direct reads, Scarlet Witch's Avengers Doomsday return sounds genius, but will be the end of an era for her MCU journey. Rumor with the subtitle Elizabeth Olsen's Avengers Doomsday appearance might make some big changes, and if this is indeed going to happen in the film, then yes, it's going to make some really big changes. But it does get her back in the MCU, so after we go over everything, you'll have to let me know what you think about this, if you like it, or if you don't. Now, when the Russo brothers, who are directing Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, were asked if Elizabeth Olsen will be returning as the Scarlet Witch, they responded with, "We shall see." And we really haven't heard too much about the Scarlet Witch in Doomsday. We haven't really heard anything from our normal insiders until now. In a recent Q&A on the Cosmic Circus's Discord, Scooper Alex Perez gave us some tidbits about what he heard about the Scarlet Witch's return, and it looks like she's going to be returning in the X-Men universe, not in the main 616 universe. And I know this might come as a shock to some people, but listen to what Alex Perez had to say. He said, in an unofficial capacity, I heard we'd be getting a Wanda variant from the X-Men universe that we'll see in Avengers Doomsday, which is a universe where Magneto is finally ruling Genosha, as he had always pictured it. And we'd have like a royal family type of situation with Eric, Pietro, Wanda, and Polaris. And for those who might not be familiar with the comics, they have definitely gone back and forth about this, but for some of the stories, Magneto is the biological father of the Scarlet Witch, of Quicksilver, and his daughter, Polaris. We see that in the X-Men animated series as well. And what's really interesting is that we heard Magneto was supposed to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in the 838 universe. Much like we saw Daniel Craig was almost going to play Balder the Brave, we were also supposed to get Magneto, and in this storyline for Magneto, he was indeed going to be the father of Wanda / the Scarlet Witch in this universe. However, the story that they were going to go with was pretty dark. Originally, it went along the lines of Magneto and Professor X realized that Wanda is basically going to become too powerful, so they basically lobotomize her, kind of just turning her into a normal person with really not any powers. And although it was originally supposed to be a horror movie, and it would have been insanely cool to see Magneto in that universe, especially as the father of the Scarlet Witch, I guess they decided it really didn't add much to the story. But it was on Marvel's minds. They were thinking about doing the story where Magneto is the biological father of the Scarlet Witch. And I still maintain that killing off Quicksilver in Age of Ultron was a big mistake. But going into the new X-Men universe where Magneto is finally ruling Genosha with his kids, that could bring back Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch and even Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver. And in fact, Alex Perez even said this is an idea that has been pushed since Multiverse of Madness, and then Deadpool and Wolverine, but it never feels like the right fit because it feels like it takes away from the overall plot. However, the main point they would like to explore with Wanda is the father-daughter relationship with Eric, aka Magneto, and in Deadpool and Wolverine, they mentioned Magneto and they even showed a statue of the Scarlet Witch. So we almost had it then as well. So this, and along with Doctor Strange 2 producer Richie Palmer telling us that more mutants could have appeared in the movie, but they felt it might have distracted from the experience, we've come close a couple of times now, and it looks like Avengers Doomsday is the movie where they finally might pull the trigger, which makes sense because we are going to a new universe where the X-Men are there, and Sir Ian McKellen is confirmed already to be in Avengers Doomsday. He got a chair alongside Patrick Stewart. So even though this might not be the way a lot of people thought the Scarlet Witch could return, it is definitely a creative way she can return. And this could actually change her entire future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. According to the same source, Alex Perez from thecosmiccircus.com, Wanda is not going to be recast recast after Avengers Secret Wars. So basically, she's going to survive this reset, as Kevin Feige calls it. She'll continue to play the Scarlet Witch if this report is true. And also, not to mention, they did film a scene at Windsor Castle for the X-Men. This is confirmed. And I did theorize before that this could actually be where Magneto lives, because we did hear a report in the past that says Magneto is actually the one who is kind of the leader of the X-Men, and if he is finally ruling Genosha, this all makes sense, and it lines up. But what does that mean post reset? What does it mean for the Scarlet Witch's story after Secret Wars? Well, I don't think Sir Ian McKellen is going to be playing Magneto after Secret Wars in the new X-Men franchise. So that would mean that the Scarlet Witch / Wanda would be connected to a different Magneto. And if the reset works the way that we think it's going to work, then for most people, history will essentially be rewritten. For those who don't remember the multiverse and universes before from which they came, they will only remember the new universe, and that's the only universe they would have ever lived in, according to their memories. And according to the actual history that will be rewritten for that universe. So this Scarlet Witch will still be the daughter of Magneto, but the Magneto that's going to be in the MCU in this new universe won't be the same as the one that we see in Doomsday and Secret Wars, because that's going to be Ian McKellen. And while some people might not like this, and while some people might not like that it's not the exact same Wanda from Multiverse of Madness, it does really give Wanda a clean slate moving forward in the new MCU. A lot of people didn't really like what Marvel did with the Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness, and based on some things that she said, Elizabeth Olsen is one of those people as well. But essentially giving her a fresh start, giving her a new story, that could be really exciting to Elizabeth Olsen and to a lot of fans, especially for those who do want to see the story of her being the daughter of Magneto. And this could also bring back Quicksilver, which I totally think they need to do. Again, I think it was a terrible decision to kill him off in Age of Ultron. But moving forward with this story, we could get so many different crazy stories, and we could get a new Vision, or the old one could return again. History rewritten, so a fresh start, but he could still be played by Paul Bettany if they want that and if he wants that, and they could do the whole love story over again, and then they could do a real House of M, which I would just love to see on screen. That famous "No More Mutants" line, I would love to see that happen in the MCU now that we do officially, or will in the next phase, have the X-Men in the MCU, the new ones that is. So ultimately I think the future is bright for the Scarlet Witch if this is what they decide to do, but it does also mean that in Avengers Doomsday, we could see multiple Scarlet Witches show up. It basically depends on what Marvel Studios' plans are and if they've changed them, because before, Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, did hint that Wanda is alive, and I've always thought that she's alive, but that was before Marvel kind of changed everything, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to play Dr. Doom and bringing back the Russo brothers with their own story to tell for Avengers Doomsday. Because remember, it wasn't Marvel's idea for the story that we have in Avengers Doomsday. The Russo brothers said no to returning for a year. Robert Downey Jr. asked them for a year to return. They said no until they got the perfect story. So this is their story with Stephen McFeely, not what Marvel had planned before. So their plans did change probably quite a bit. So before, sure, their plan was probably to bring the Scarlet Witch back in some way, shape, or form based on the fact that she didn't really die in Multiverse of Madness, but who knows what the plan is now. They could simply say she died and simply bring back Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch from this other universe, the X-Men universe. Or they could have both, where in the Multiverse Saga, variants exist. They could have both of them. However, since Wanda was demonstrated as basically the strongest person ever in the MCU that we've seen so far, they might decide to keep her out of it because she's so strong. On the other hand, they still could go with the rumor that we heard that Doom perhaps revives her using the powers of Franklin Richards, which we have seen now in the MCU. He can indeed do that. And perhaps Doom takes her powers, and that's how he becomes God Emperor Doom. I'd totally be okay with that as well, because I think that would be a pretty sick story. And he does have to get godlike powers from someone or something. The Beyonders probably aren't going to be in this film. We haven't heard anything about them, or even the story of a single Beyonder, but they've shown us how strong the Scarlet Witch is, so Doom taking her powers, we'd know, combined with his own sorcery and his tech, that would be enough for him to become a god. So I kind of want to see that happen, but go ahead and let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comments down below. If she returned in the other universe, the X-Men universe, as the daughter of Magneto, would you like this or not? let us know. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Avengers Doomsday or Marvel news. You can catch us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.